So you've mixed the perfect colour and it took you ages and you want to use it again tomorrow or maybe the next day on your painting. Also, some paint brands are really expensive. You don't want to keep starting again day after day in the cost of living crisis. Oil paint is supposed to be slow drying, right? But have you found that if you leave the paint on your palette, it dries out? In this clip, I will show you how I stop my paints from drying out and give you some tips along the way. Also, make sure you watch until the end for a bonus tip that you would not have expected. So welcome to this clip where I thought I would share with you some of the tips that I've learnt over the years on how to stop your oil paint drying out. Recently, I've been painting larger pieces and I've had to think again about how I organise my studio to accommodate these pieces, but also decrease the wastage, including the drying out of my paints. One thing that I suggest you start to look at is the drying time of the brands and colours you use. I mainly use Michael Harding paints because they are handmade and tend not to dry out as quickly. They use naturally slow drying oils such as safflower and linseed oil. However, certain colours such as Van Dyke Brown will dry out far quicker than alizarin crimson, and this goes for any brands. It's purely down to the pigments. You will also have to take into account drying mediums if you use these in your works. I use Chelsea Classic Studio Fat and Lean mediums, which speeds up the drying process on linen, which is great, but it also dries the paint time on the palette. Some artists also use a medium called Liquin, which again dries out your paint, so obviously if you add this to your paints, it's going to speed up the drying process. Drying oils such as linseed, stand, walnut, poppy and safflower oil slow the drying process. There are also slow drying mediums such as Galkyd slow dry medium, but I haven't used this as I only use natural mediums. If you have used Galkyd slow drying medium and found it prolongs the life of the paint, please let me know in the comments. So how long does it take for the paint to dry? Usually about 2 to 3 days. That is when the seal forms around the paint because the surface of the paint has been oxidised. If you really want to, you can break the surface and use the paint underneath. It's totally usable. There are several ways that you can store your paint if you make a large amount. You can scoop it into an airtight jar. There are also purpose-made tubes for making colours, especially if you want to keep for a long period of time. I'll put a link in the description below for these. I work on 2 quite large glass palettes and I like to reuse the colours as much as possible because I work over a long period of time and make a wide variety of colours. Because oil paint is essentially oxidised over time, if you want to preserve the length of your oil paints, you need to find a way to stop the oxygen getting to them and drying out. At the end of each painting session, I'll push the paints together into a pile as this reduces the surface area and it means that you preserve more paint underneath. I then put my glass palette inside a Masterson palette container as I find that this keeps the paint from drying out for a couple of days. And I also add the sponge underneath for additional moisture, though this is designed to act with the Stay Wet paper sheets and they are very effective with acrylics. And now for the surprising bonus tip that I wanted to share with you, on top of using the container to retain additional moisture. To stop your oil paints from drying out further, you can also put a couple of cotton buds or Q-tips soaked in clove oil alongside your oil paints, as this also helps to retain the moisture of the paint. The reason this works is because cloves contain an aromatic oil called eugenol, a substance that slows down the oxidisation period of oil paint. If you would like to learn more about oil paint techniques and tips, then watch the playlist above. If you would like to be notified of future content, then subscribe by hitting the button below, and don't forget to check out the description below for details of the products seen in today's clip.